The sociological theorist I will be talking about today is Charlotte Perkins Gilman. I wanted to begin with this quote Gilman mentions in her popular book Women and Economics. "We are the only animal species in which the female depends on the male for food, the only animal species in which the sex relations is also an economic relation." This is a small preview of Gilman's work, and as you may already notice, her work revolved around women's rights and women's economic freedom. Before diving into Gilman's theories and published work, I'll discuss some important background information that played a key role in her work. To begin, Gilman was born on July 3, 1860 to Mary and Frederick Perkins. When Mary was informed that she could no longer have children, Frederick abandoned his family. Therefore Gilman was raised by her mother, who struggled financially. Gilman and her family moved 18 times in 14 years, living with family and friends. That being said, Gilman spent much of her youth in Providence, Rhode Island, where she attended the Rhode Island School of Design for 2 years, from 1878 to 1880. There Gilman supported herself as an artist designing greeting cards. Gilman's family connections also inspired her work. Gilman was grandniece of Isabella Beecher Hooker, a leader and activist in the American suffrage movement, as well as grandniece of Henry Ward Beecher, president of the American Woman's Suffrage Association. Gilman's family connections allowed her to be distinguished when she was publishing her first writings. Charlotte Perkins Gilman's writings allowed her to advocate for women's rights. The diversity of topics Gilman wrote about included marriage, economy, labor, social and gender norms, and politics. Not only were Gilman's topics diverse, as were her writing types, which included poetry, short stories, novels, and non-fiction social critiques. One of Gilman's popular works is The Yellow Wallpaper, a short story inspired by Gilman's experience of her marriage and postpartum depression. In 1885 Gilman gave birth to her daughter Catherine Beecher Stetson, but after giving birth, Gilman suffered from postpartum depression and struggled with the demands of marriage and motherhood. Gilman was expected to do a women's work. After struggling to do a women's work, she concluded that she could not live as Stetson's wife and pursue her greater ambitions to do race work, which was work that benefited mankind. Moreover, the short story is about a mother suffering from postpartum depression. The woman is then prescribed the arrest cure by her husband, a physician, in the summer home they rent out. The women's room has yellow wallpaper bedroom. Over time, the woman becomes overwhelmed with the expectations of a wife and mother and begins seeing a trapped woman in the wallpaper. The yellow wallpaper takes on the form of a prison, as she feels trapped in the room, which represents the feeling of responsibility she had in her marriage and motherhood. Once she tears down the wallpaper, she is free in the room and the social expectations put on her. Gilman not only writes about abandoning the social expectations of being a housewife, but also writes about women entering the work field. Furthermore, Gilman theorized that women would never be independent until they were granted economic freedom. This theory is seen in Gilman's book Women and Economics, a study of the economic relation between men and women as a factor in social evolution, an important contribution to the first wave of feminism. Gilman discusses the theory that human evolution has shaped the socioeconomic relations between the sexes. In the prehistoric age, women were sexually dominated and oppressed by the strongest males. This human evolution strategy was necessary for the preservation, which was no longer socially necessary or productive. However, the same-sex relation was seen as an economic relation, or the sexual-economic relation, which was based on inequality, where strong males possessed economic freedom while women were dependent on the man's finances. Not only were women dependent, but they possessed the role of women in society, where their household labor was not compensated for. She referred to women as private servants, as women performed their expected duty to their families, instead of legitimized lines of work. To address the issue of economic dependence, Gilman then recommended household changes as economic independence for women necessarily involves a change in the home and family relation. Moreover, the economic dependence creates inequality in marriages, to which she argues, marriage is not perfect unless it is between class equals, allowing the women to work and have economic independence. Although it's clear that Gilman's diverse work and ideas helped develop the social movement of feminism we see today. Gilman's theories outlined the sexist impact the economy had on institutions like the home. Gilman's theories supported women entering the work field instead of being imprisoned at home doing housework, which only benefited men, allowing women to be financially dependent. However, Gilman didn't consider herself a feminist. In fact, she stated in one of her letters, "I abominate being called a feminist." To continue, like many other ideas from the first wave of feminism that focused on women's suffrage, Gilman's ideas were racist as they only extended to white women. Gilman's ideas excluded women of color and were racist and xenophobic, as seen in a 1908 article Gilman wrote for the American Journal of Sociology. In the article, Gilman proposes automatic enlistment in the army of all African Americans to keep them from entering the country. Therefore, a critique of Gilman's work is that some of her ideas are outdated as it doesn't include all women's and individuals' rights. These ideas don't align with the feminist theories and concepts used today, such as intersectionality. Here is a list of all the sources used for this presentation. Thank you for watching my presentation.